Hello, Urvi. A very warm welcome to you, Urvi, on this interview. And congratulations on getting that 655. I mean, from a 555 to a 655, 100-point improvement is, any GMAT taker's dream come true. So when that score popped up on your screen, you must have been like, what was it? Unbelievable, believable, what?
So it was my dream come true as well. I was very nervous because this was my second attempt. So there were a lot of emotions and I was very stressed throughout my journey. But when I saw that score, I was taken aback. I was not expecting. When I was giving my exams, I was a lot stressed and tensed. But definitely it was hard work paying off and I was very happy. And the first thing I did was called my parents and talked to them and they were all, chalo party karte hain, all
Yeah,
of that.
I
It
can
was a
imagine.
very happy moment.
So again, a big congratulations on that. And just for our viewers to understand what we are, just to put everything in context, Urvi's first attempt was last year, December. Correct, Urvi? All right.
Yes.
This was your score last December. So if you can see, you scored a total of 555. Quantitative reasoning was at a 70th percentile with quant 81. Verbal reasoning was at a 30th percentile, which is a score of verbal 77. And data insights was at the 41st percentile with a score of 74. And this was last year, December. All right. And so can you just tell us a little bit about your journey before you took this exam quickly, if you can?
Um, so I started my journey back in July 2024, and I was already in a hurry because the deadlines were from August and September. So I started to research about the prep courses available, and I enrolled myself in a crash course for a month from a reputed institute. There I learned about what GMAT is really all about, what it demands, and uh, a lot of topics also I revised. But I was at the same time involved with an internship, so I couldn't commit myself full time, and that is what I think was the major difference. I took my exam in December after, but I did not get my desired result, and I was very devastated. And I couldn't. I knew I had to give it again, but I just couldn't make myself study and go through the process again right after my exam. So I ended up taking a huge break. I started my second attempts journey in May. That's when I enrolled in GMATWhiz, and I took my second attempt in September
All right.
2025.
So the time that you gave to the prep for the first attempt and the second attempt were more or less quite similar, right? About 4 to 5 months before the first attempt, and similarly about 4 and a half, 5 months before the second attempt. Now let's just look at what happened in your second attempt. Now, for our viewers again here, in the second attempt, 1 second, sorry. If you look at the second attempt here, from a 48th percentile for an overall score, you went to 91st. Like it's like almost a double jump. I would call this a story of doubles for the most part. Quantitative, you went from a 70th percentile to a 91st percentile, 81 to 86. Verbal, now I am a verbal tutor and mentor. I do a lot of private tutoring. And for me, I know how much would have gone into that journey of from 77 to 81, on the screen that 81 doesn't look big, but moving from a 30th percentile to a 66th percentile requires a lot of effort, and we are going to talk about that. And then look at data insights, 41st to 83rd. So that's why I'm saying it's a story of doubles, doubling up on everything, 100-point improvement. Amazing, amazing. Now, so just to make things clear for our viewers here, uh, we are going to talk about Urvi's journey of sharpening her skills and being able to achieve that amazing leap. We're going to talk about it on three levels. We're going to talk about what she did for her, concepts, what she did about her processes that she was not doing earlier. And then we are also going to talk about what she did for her strategy. These are the three levels we are going to keep talking about, Urvi. All right. So shall we start with quant improvement? Huge improvement, amazing
Mhm.
improvement. And let's start talking about conceptually. What is it that you did for your quant to move from 81 to 86?
So there wasn't a big shift in quant because right from the start, I knew it would be my strongest section. I've always enjoyed quants and math, and I was already comfortable with most of the concepts in quant. So the major difference this time was in how I approached the questions. First, I started applying shortcuts and tricks that I was taught in the GMATWhiz course, and that really
Can you a
helped
little
me.
bit talk about that shortcuts and tips that you were taught at GMAT course? Because I'm assuming that these were not things that you knew before you came to GMAT.
Hmm. So there were a lot of nitty-gritty, small things that I kind of used to oversee and I used to ignore back then, like um, focusing on constraints. So usually people ignore because they seem like such a small part of the question, but they play such a big role. Now that I realize, I understand that you need to focus on these things. So that really helped me reduce my time. So I could save a lot of time on quant because of using shortcuts and tricks. And secondly, I started using the reverse approach wherever it was efficient. So earlier, I only knew that there's one straightforward direct approach that you need to read the question and then get on with solving the questions and look for the right answer in the options. But during the course, my GMAT course, I was taught that you could also go the other way around. You could use the options very efficiently and then get on the answer. So that also gave me a lot of a boost of confidence before because before even starting a question, I knew I already know at least two ways to solve it now. One would be the direct one and one would be the another. So that was a big help to me. And about quant, which I liked in GMAT is so, for example, we take a topic, say numbers. So it is a very broad concept, and it has many subtopics in it, like prime numbers, integers, irrational numbers. So after one specific topic, let's say prime numbers was explained in a video, we directly had a small quiz of on only on prime numbers. So that really helped me cement that topic for me.
Correct.
So, and then after every quiz, I used to get a personalized feedback. So I could, along the journey, I was at the same time getting to know my weaker sections, my stronger sections. So that way I could use my time more efficiently.
Great.
So that is what changed in quant for me.
So you feel that even though it was a self-learning course that you took, you took the online course with GMAT
Hmm.
but you could learn at your own pace, and it wasn't like you were just learning from the video lessons, or you were getting real-time feedback from the course as well to tell you what you were doing or not doing correctly. Great. And these were the things that you were earlier not aware of, or at least you were not told about, and you weren't doing,
Hmm.
correct? Okay.
I
So
mean,
this.
the shortcuts and tricks were new to me, so that was a big help. I remember I saw Piyush's one webinar, and he taught us one of the tricks, and I was just flabbergasted at what I've seen. That was a big help.
And this is despite the fact that it's not like quant is something that you are scared of. It was an area that you
Hmm.
were already
That was
familiar
my
with.
most comfortable one.
It was
Hmm.
comfortable, and yet you were surprised with that revelation, so to speak, that, oh, this is also
Hmm.
something that I can do. All right. I mean, I also remember, I mean, I am one of those people who are still scared of mathematics. So, listening to you say that, okay, when you are confident that, okay, these are the methods I can use to not only efficiently solve the question, but get it right as well. That gives you a lot of
Hmm.
confidence, and confidence calms you down, I think, helps you to tame
For
that
sure.
exam anxiety. So this was what you did at the conceptual level. Then let's talk about, let's say, once you had learned all the concepts, on the during the learning stage, what did you do then? And I mean, I'm sure like there was a certain stage where you were going through the video lessons and doing the initial quizzes and everything. And then obviously there must have been some gap between that process and finally taking the exam. So
Hmm.
what did you do in between? Like we would like to understand, how did you stay disciplined and on course?
First of all, I had a mentor assigned to me, Jyoti. So she was there with me every bit of the step. I owe her so much to her. And so what happened was we used to conduct a weekly mentorship meeting, and she used to use my platform, my portal, and then give me suggestions and feedback as to on what areas do I need to improve. So that was when I was in the learning stage. After I had completed all my videos, then we moved on to the practice stage. So there were a lot of quizzes on the portal itself. So I started by doing those quizzes, and obviously I did the OG as I was instructed by Jyoti. And after the quizzes, I moved on to sectionals, and I remember she handed me a list of around 1,500 questions for quant, and I used to sit and do those questions, and she used to send me weekly targets. So for example, I had to finish 15 units in a week because I was full time into prep, so I could allot a lot of time. And those targets really helped me. I had a clear deadline. I knew what I had to do the very next day. So that is how I kept myself disciplined. And I already enjoyed doing quant questions, so that was not a struggling
That
part
was
for
not a
me.
struggle. So here is something I'd like you to tell our viewers that the planning part. Okay, I have a target of questions. So how like if you talk about a daily kind of thing, let's say today this is the target that I need to meet for my quant question. So how would you go about it? Would you just sit at a stretch for 3-4 hours and just go through it, or how did you plan it out on a daily basis so that you were completing your targets, you were able to stick to the timelines?
So first of all, I've always studied at night. I'm not someone who studies during the day. So my schedule used to be that I would wake up around 11 at the night. I would study till morning, and then I'll sleep around 3 or 2 in the afternoon. And I used to study at a stretch from 11. I'll have my breakfast, I'll get ready, and then I'll study till the morning at a stretch. I was meant and given guidance on how to improve my timetable. Jyoti asked me to divide my hours. Instead of studying at a stretch, you could study 2 hours at a time and then take a break and then study for 2 hours. And I tried making a lot of timetables, but I every time I failed to follow them. So that is what worked best for me, studying at a stretch. But what really helped me were two things. First, like I mentioned, the weekly targets. So I knew if I have to complete 15 units in a week, I at least have to cover 2 units in a day. So I won't sleep, I won't get out of my chair if I've not completed those 2 units. And secondly, there was on the portal, there was this percentage of completion percentage, like 20% I've completed the course, 20%. So I was really chasing that 100 percentage I really wanted to see that on my screen. So that was a very big boost for me. I used to, uh, you know, do extra just to jump on one more number. So that was how I
That helped you to
got
stay
status in it.
motivated, that
Hmm.
percentage covered and all. So definitely, this self-discipline is a very, very important thing. And with GMAT being what it is, you definitely need to have targeted practice. So you practiced diligently on, I mean, area-wise, unit-wise, topic-wise.
Hmm.
Great, great. And anything that you did in terms of, planning in terms of, okay, in the exam, this is how I will strategize my mathematics, my math section, like anything that you can help us there.
Um, since I knew that quant would be my most comfortable section. I knew that I want to give it at the first place. So this is what also changed in my second attempt. I have always naturally been inclined towards giving quant, DI, and verbal
Okay.
because I like quant most, and then DI also have a lot of calculations, so I like it at the second place, and verbal has always been a struggle for me. But in my first attempt, what happened was I watched a lot of videos, and most of the people I noticed that were giving quant, verbal, and DI. So I got influenced that this might be the right approach, and I kind of got into the overthinking part of it, and I ended up giving quant, verbal, and DI.
So
So
this was
that was
when you
not
took the
what
first
was meant for
exam.
me. This, yes.
Okay.
So I gave Quant Verbal DI. And this time I did what felt natural to me.
Uh-huh.
And I gave Quant DI Verbal. And that worked out perfectly for me. So Quant, when you
So
give the
let's
first,
just take a pause there. So what you are saying is that every student should maybe find out what works best for them and not just follow some
hmm,
blanket trends, that okay, this is so there are trends which say okay, you should take your strongest section first and your weakest last and things like those. But I think what you're trying to say is you need to find your comfortable, let's say, order. For some, quant verbal DI might work. For some, and I do know personally a lot of students for whom quant DI and verbal works. And of course, there would be people who would like to take verbal first if that is their stronger suit. But yes, so that this is how you. So when you were taking the mocks the second time around, did you try this order change in those mocks as well? Or did you just
not
suddenly in the
really.
exam decided ki,
I tried the first time. I tried giving Quant Verbal DI, but it was the same case. I was not able to complete my exam. So I then decided that I need to do what works best for me. And actually, what you mentioned, this also was a struggle when I was trying to plan out my timetable and all of that, because I watched a lot of videos and people were saying that they have made such a structured plan. So I thought that that might be the right way, and that is what I missed the first time. But again, you can't just go for what's the best out there. You need to figure out and find out what's the right one for you.
correct, correct. Self-awareness, self-discipline is very important. True, true, true. So one of the things that you did was you decided you would change the order of things, right? And so let's also quickly talk about during the exam while you were attempting the quant section. What are the things that you kept in mind from beforehand? Like, you'd taken
Hmm.
mocks, so you had decided, oh, these are the things I'm going to do.
So particularly in DI, I remember um, in my previous attempt,
We'll talk
I
about
was
DI in a moment. If you can just tell us
okay.
about
Okay.
quant, because I know quant is something that is so natural for you. It doesn't come to you that, okay, I did something special for quant, but just let's quickly talk about, the timing strategy, or was there any strategy that you had in mind that, okay, this is how I'm going to attempt questions, or this is how I'm going to look at timing, anything that you did specifically for quant?
For quant, I just knew that I had to be my best in quant because this is going to save me ultimately. Because I was not that confident in verbal, I'll be very honest.
No, no, yes.
So, so I knew that whatever I have, I had to give it in quant. So I was just in the right mindset that I can't afford to be nervous. I can't afford to make any mistakes. But at the same time, I also need to save time. So I was just working very efficiently. If I was not sure of an answer, I would mark it because I had to, but I'll write it on my sheet that the question number, I'll mark it, and I'll keep it in mind that after I've completed all the 21 questions, I'll go back and recheck that particular question. So I just worked very efficiently, and that was all that I
You
did
have
in
time to
quant.
go back and do the review.
Um, Last in my previous attempt, I had 10 minutes. In this attempt, actually, something very weird happened. In my first attempt, my quant was I thought that my quant had gone better than this attempt.
Okay.
So
So last time you felt like, oh, I have
yeah,
done well.
these
Okay.
questions, I felt that the questions were easier in my first attempt.
And that is why you finished early also. Like, you had 10
Yes.
minutes to spare. Then,
So what actually happened in this attempt was, I did my quant and I felt like it went bad,
oh,
and I
you
got
didn't feel
very
that happy inside.
hmm. So I was scared because this was supposed to save me.
Okay.
So next I moved on to DI, and
But
during
you did not let this fear overpower you in your DI.
I
Or
mean,
did you?
there's this 1 minute when you move to the next section. So I count myself down and no, you have to do DI, you have to do DI. And my DI also went according to me bad.
Okay. So let's get this straight that we are not good judges of understanding what's going well and what's not going well, right?
Not at all.
So
Because I
no
ended up
student.
getting highest in quant.
Yeah, so that means that's a very good thing, because a lot of students, they get psyched if they feel, I'm going to use the word, they feel that their best section hasn't gone well, and let their mind linger on that, and that affects the subsequent sections. What you're saying is, whether you're feeling good about it or not, just do your best. What comes up on your screen, just focus on that. Use all the knowledge that you have gained during your practice, all the techniques, as you said, that you'd learned, just put those into practice and then forget about it and then move forward. And that's what you did. Okay, that's a very
I mean, you
important.
need to keep going because there's no way out. You can't just, because during my mocks and sections, I had the option of pausing the exam and uh, I could have calmed myself down, but there's no way I could do that. So I knew that I just have to keep going.
Great. That's a good insight. Okay, okay. All right. So with quant, no, feeling that it hadn't gone on that hadn't gone off that well. Acha, this time did you finish early?
Only I think only 2 minutes were left.
2 minutes were left. So just want to talk about it a little bit here, because see, at GMATWhiz, uh, we are very serious about how you read the questions, right? I mean, we always stress on the fact that you should read the information given very carefully, whether it is quant, whether it is DI, or whether it is verbal. So more times should be spent on reading the question, the stimulus, the question, the data, rather than going over the options. So, did that have anything to do with not saving so much time this time around?
Definitely. This time I was focused more on questions like I mentioned, like I used to ignore the constants. So if I've
Hmm.
ignored the major part of the question, I won't be able to get to the solution.
Hmm.
So this time I spend more time on the questions, and I realized that if I've understood the questions better, the time to calculate the answer will automatically reduce. You won't need to calculate much.
Amazing. So, let me actually intervene at this point and point out to everybody that, listen to this, guys. You're always scared that, let me quickly read the question and let me quickly get to the answer choices, because that is where the results are going to come. But what you have just pointed out is, if you have given the right amount of time, attention, and the right way, you have read the question the right way, as you said, the constraints and the data and everything, then it won't take you, neither will it take you very long to get through the answers, nor will you get confused at any step. I think that's what you're trying to say. Great. Amazing. All right. So I think we've had enough of quant, because again, amazing, 81 to 86, even though it was your stronger area, you had got a quant 81
Mhm.
earlier, right? And 86 is no mean achievement. We cannot discount it by saying that you were already good at quant. So great work there. All right. What I'm going to next talk about again, so we are going to move from quant improvement um, to the next part of it, right? I'm going to talk about DI improvement, which again, to me, this is perhaps one of the most important, areas of improvement. So many of the students, I mean, from a 74, which is a really very low percentile, if you look at what's just around the median, to move from there to 80, which is in the 90s, the percentile, it's no mean achievement. And we'll hear from you what you did to achieve this. What did you do here? You can start right from
Um,
the conceptual level, and then,
so for DI, first and foremost thing for me was to work on staying calm and confident because I already was fearful of the fact that there's not enough time to be able to do all 20 questions in a relaxed
for
way.
manner.
You need to
Right.
be in a very hurry. So I worked on staying calm and confident. And another thing that I mentioned was the order in which I attempted my exam.
You had
So
brought
that
up DI
also
from the last to the second.
second place. Yeah. So that really helped me with my flow. And I
When you say
also
flow, you mean it helped you. You were already doing quant. quantitative, and from there it naturally sort of flowed into DI
I
for
was already in the calculative zone, so
okay.
I already was in the form, so I just continued with that. And I also changed my mindset. So because of the fear, I I just was not able to do DI questions, and so what I changed was I started enjoying DI.
How
So
did
I've
you do
always
that?
believed
Like,
that.
can you just expand a little bit on that? That, most people are scared of DI. It's long, it's time consuming, so much to read. What did you do? I mean, what brought around that turnaround? That how did you start enjoying it?
So I always believed like you can't just fall in love with the destination, you also have to fall in love with the journey. So I also, remind myself of this quote. And secondly, what I did was before starting my exam, the 1 minute that I had, I reminded myself that the answer is going to be one of the options. So I reminded myself that there's already, if there are five options, there's already a 20% chance, there's 20% chance that you're going to get it right. So that really helped me relax, because if you are to think that there could be infinite options, there could be infinite number of answers, that would really scare you because you don't even have time to keep checking, rechecking your answer. You can't go back and keep checking your answer because you're already short of time. So I already was in a mindset that the answer could be one of these five options. I just have to narrow it down and come to the right one. So there are
So
only
you
five
looked at the
options and just,
positive approach, the glass
yeah,
is half full approach, like it's already there. I just need to figure it
I
out,
just need to find out.
and I
I
can
just
do
need to
that.
identify, yeah. Hmm. So
Okay.
I really changed my perspective on how to approach DI. And once I started enjoying DI, it was something that I wanted to do. When I started giving my sectionals, I started looking forward to doing DI sectionals. It just sounded more fun to me that, oh, I'll get to do 20 questions of DI. Just became fun for me. And for DS, I remember the first time I got to know about DS, I couldn't fathom for the longest time what the logic behind these type of questions are. I used to get frustrated. I mean, you could give me a straightforward question, I'll calculate and I'll get to the answer. I couldn't understand why do you want to know which statement is sufficient, which is not. But now that I've practiced a lot, I see the importance of DS, and that just became fun. And it became kind of a mystery and detective kind of thing. Yeah, I kind of
That was just what was
gamified it.
actually coming in my mind when you said now that I started looking forward and enjoying it. It's what I feel for CR, that rush of knowing what is going to be revealed, and I'll be the one to reveal that. I can understand
Yeah,
that.
so that came like a mystery, and I am the one who's going to solve. So that I kind of gamified in my mind, and it just
Ah,
happened naturally.
okay. So just to again to go back to you were a fresher when you took up the course with this renowned institute earlier, right? So between that and between GMATWhiz, did you feel the shift in the course in terms of the learning that you got for DI as well?
Definitely. First thing was I had not practiced enough during my first prep. So I practiced intensively on the portal and the questions that Jyoti provided me. So that really helped me get into a form and become more familiar with the pattern of
Hmm.
questions. So for DS specifically, this is what really got me through. I had practiced so much that I had already gotten familiar with the pattern
Hmm.
and the right way to approach them. So for DS, I remember there's like live webinars also on the GMATWhiz portal. So in those webinars, they really teach you that for DS, you can't you when you've read the question, you can't just jump right to the options.
Right.
First, you need to take your time with the question and solve it as much as you can, and then it would be just easier. You would know exactly what information you would need, and then you can just go to the options and correct mark the correct one. So for DS, that really helped me, and over time, I got used to spotting the traps and remembering to check for exceptions and making sure I was approaching each question with the right mindset.
So I think for DI, what you have just said is first and foremost is that positive mindset that the answer is there. It's there, the data is there, everything is there right under my nose. I I can find it. That positive mindset, number one.
Hmm.
Second, as you said, that you approached it with a very calm mind because rushing through was not going to get you anywhere. And from what you have said, I guess when you gave more attention to reading, as you said, you were already aware of the traps. You were already aware of what are the kind of things that you're going to come across, and you kept a lookout for them. And that can only happen if you're reading carefully. So I think that reading
Hmm.
carefully has been a very important improvement that you would have made between your earlier prep and the prep this time around,
Definitely.
correct? And that is how you took it all on. And so a lot of people get really scared with long MSR questions. How any tips that you have that you use
I was
to
in the
overcome
same
that?
boat. For MSR, I was totally in the same boat. I used to get a lot scared because there are three tabs. I need to get to all of them and then solve. So it would be a lot of time consuming. But what worked for me was just read the tabs and first get a brief of what type of information is provided in the tabs, whether it's just a text or table or graph. And then when you have a rough overview, then you start with reading whatever it is written in the tabs, and just don't get too deep into it. Don't attach yourself with the information, trying to really understand what every word means. Just have a brief overview, then look at the question, and then spot where that information is in which of the tabs and where it is. Locate that and then read that and then solve. So
Hmm.
there was a lot of back and forth, but that really helped me save my
That
time
helped
in
you. That
MSR.
helped you. Great, great. And what about TPA? I mean, so oftentimes TPA, especially, so you have the math related TPA, you have the non-math related TPA. So what about it?
As I said, that verbal was a struggle, so I liked math TPA better, more. Non-TPA, I used to pray that I won't get a lot of questions on this, but it was still fun. I mean, that is the main thing that got me through DI, that I just need to find, I need to solve for this.
You didn't
And
let it get to you, to your head that this is something very difficult and cannot be done. Okay. All right.
and for DI, I think for MSR, I remember MSR is one topic that I was the most fearful, especially during my first time. So this is what I practiced the most. I did a lot of questions for MSR to get that fear out of me.
I think one of the things that is common to both quant and to MSR, to DI so far that you have said, is that after understanding the concepts, after doing that, you did a lot of intensive practice. But would you also say that you did the practice with the right mindset and the right approach? Like you kept correcting yourself. What I mean to say is, let's say you practice today some 5 or 10 questions. Between today's practice and tomorrow's practice, would there be any difference? Like, would there be any learnings that you would carry forward? Would there be error logs or anything that you were maintaining?
So first thing that actually Jyoti taught me was, so when I first started my prep during my second attempt, if I've gotten the question right, I won't look at its explanation. I'll just look at only the question for explanation for the questions that I've gotten wrong. So I'll learn from the questions that I've gotten wrong, but if I also look at the explanation for the ones that I've gotten right, I'll probably end up learning a new approach that might save time, and I'll end up learning a new trick. So I started learning and seeing explanation for every question that I'm doing, irrespective of whether I've gotten it right or not. So that obviously, if I've done 5 questions today and I've gone through all of their explanations, and when I do the next 5 questions, I'm at a slightly better, improved position. I know a newer way. I know a better way to approach them. I know a more efficient way to approach them.
That's a
And
very
al-
amazing insight. Yes, please continue.
and along the journey, I never stopped reviewing at the same time. I kept on reviewing all the questions and going back to the topics that I felt like I need more conceptual clarity on this. The concepts and topics that I figured that are weaker, which also Jyoti helped me with. Like she used to tell me that this topic needs more command. So I would go back to the videos. It was not like a one linear journey. I always
Was
stepped back and yeah, I always stepped back whenever I needed to. I remember I watched a lot verbal videos back and forth because I need to keep the points in mind. So it was never a linear journey. And along the journey, I was focused more on my weaker sections and reviewing along the way.
great. So I think that is one of the most important things that you have said, apart from that positive mindset thing, that a lot of us, in fact, most, do not believe that the more they solve questions, the better they will get. That's it. But there are two things that you have pointed out. One is just solving is not going to get you better. It sounds as if more and more practice has helped you reach where you have. But the insight that you have just given, that whenever you felt, so it was, reviewing the solutions of even the questions that you were getting right. Okay. And using those insights to decide whether you needed more conceptual clarity or you could go forward. So you were learning not only from the questions that you were solving, but you were learning from the solutions and probably learning more from the solutions. It helped you also
Definitely.
point out what are the things that you still need to focus on. So maybe you've got a question right, all right, yet you have learned that, oh, this was something that I didn't know, so I need to go back to the drawing board. That was an amazing insight, Urvi, because this is something that people don't do. They feel it's a waste of time. Maximum.
About the about like you said, it's not about solving questions. What happened in my first attempt was I gave around 20 mocks, which is usually
20
not what
mocks.
people do.
My
Actually,
God.
I have probably given more than 20 mocks. So
What
because
did you
I've
do? Did you give a
grown up
mock
in a
every
CV.
day?
Yeah, exactly. I used to give mock every single day. So that is what I've been taught. I've grown up in a CBSE environment. So what CBSE has taught us that the more number of questions you solve, if you practice more and more and more, you're going to get there. But that is not what how GMAT works.
No.
And the major contrast is this time I gave only 2 marks. That's it,
I
full
mean,
length.
seriously, all of you listening out there, please understand it's not about how many, it is about how, correct?
Exactly.
The quality. All right, great. Go ahead.
This time when I gave 2 mocks, I remember like when I used to give 20 mocks, I still used to spend time reviewing, but I was more in a hurry and focused on giving the next one. I got my ego hurt and I was, no, I'll get it right the next time. So I did not spend that time reviewing. I did not give reviewing that much attention back then.
And obviously,
But
you
this
wouldn't
time,
have any takeaways also if you're not giving enough time to
so I
review.
was repeating the same mistakes. I was in a loop. But this time, what Jyoti taught me was that if you're giving 3 hours doing questions, practicing, you need to spend 3 hours reviewing.
Absolutely.
You need to identify what went wrong. You need to understand what was the reason behind it. Is it something that you did not know? Is it something that you had forgotten? Is it something that you panicked about or you were in a rush? What exactly the reason is? You need to catch that and then go to the very depth of it and resolve it from the root.
And then move to the next mock, if at all. Perfect, perfect. That is exactly what I mean. You actually don't need more than three, four mocks at all to really help you know what to do in the exam, right? That's great. That's a very profound insight. That reviewing solutions, review of whatever you're doing, even if it is correct or whether it is not correct. Great. So that was about DI and amazing again. 74 to 80 is an amazing improvement. Amazing. So we'll next move to talking about the verbal improvement. Okay. Sorry, let me just move to So that was DI. Yes. Now we're going to talk about how from so that 77 to anybody who's preparing for verbal, the verbal would be very disheartening. And for you, it was already a weak section. I mean, at least weaker than the other two. What were
It
your
was a weak
thoughts?
section.
What were your thoughts, before you came to GMAT? Because you already done one course. So between that course, whatever you were taught on verbal, and between GMATWhiz, what you learned here, what was the difference? I really want this to be brought out because this is one of the most common weak areas among lot of students. Verbal is usually weaker, right? Especially for us
Um,
natives, it is a weaker area. Yes, go ahead.
so starting with, first of all, CR was very new to me. I did not understand the question type. So it took me a lot of time to get wrap my head around what CR actually is.
So this
So
was despite having
this
done the
time I
course.
was more consistent with my practice.
So although you had done a course,
Somewhat, yes.
you were still not clear about even the question types in
It
CRE.
was a crash. So it was a crash course. It was
Okay.
a crash course. It was just of 1 month.
So
So
that
I was
means
kind of rushed a
that's
bit.
also a learning for all the students that GMAT cannot be done as a crash course, right? You need time.
I mean, it might work for somebody, it might not work for you. So I needed a lot more time
Okay.
because I needed to understand what CR is first, and then I would be able to solve the question. So this time I was more consistent with my practice, but not just practicing the right way. So
What was that? Like, what would you define as the right way? What were you doing?
so first of all, even for verbal, I realized that I had not been understanding the argument, the stimulus properly. So I noticed that difference that once I started to understand the stimulus in a more depth and in a more intense way, the answer would come a bit easier.
So that means you were not just reading the sentences, tut, 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 and then going to the options. You were actually trying to decode the meaning of the sentences in the stimulus, right?
And
You were
like
trying to
with every sentence, I used to kind of connect that why is this sentence being said? How the sentence connects to the main conclusion. So all of these calculations and
Can you just
logical
repeat
thinking
that?
pieces
Because I
in
want our listeners, our viewers to listen to that connection thing. That is very, very, very important for anybody looking to improve their verbal. So you would read a
the
sentence.
first time I
Huh.
would read the sentence just tuck 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 like you said. But this time around, I read a sentence and quickly, because again, you don't have a lot of time, but with practice, it obviously my pace got faster. Quickly, you'll kind of connect the dots, why the author said this line and how does it connect to the main conclusion. So when I've read the small para, I would have a longer summary and a more in-depth summary as to why it has been said and how it connects to the main conclusion and what exactly was the main point of saying this.
Great.
That would really help me out in selecting the solution. And also, the major difference was I started to eliminate the answers. Before, I used to find the correct one. Now I did the reverse thing. I used to eliminate the
Here
answers
also
and
you
then,
tried the reverse thing. So you mentioned in quant you were trying the reverse methodology, but here also it was like, what is wrong? Let me eliminate that. So whatever is left
hmm.
has to be the answer. Great.
So I used to eliminate, and oftentimes I'll narrow it down to one solution, and that would be the right one. And obviously, you can't just eliminate and then blindly mark whatever is left. You still need to make sure it's the correct one because it could be that you've missed something from
Mm.
one of the other options. And after, if I've, for example, if I've narrowed it down to two options, because that also happened a lot of times, I did the negation test that was taught in the GMAT quiz. So I would sit and try to reverse and contradict what is being said, and that would shortlist the answer for me.
And then you would go through the solutions to understand whatever you had.
Yeah, that for verbal I have done the most reviewing because that was my weaker section. So I tried to read all of the explanation that was given and understand why have we reached this answer, because for verbal I felt it is a very subjective thing, because for quant and DI you'd get an answer and you will be able to locate it. If it's 0 0.7, it is 0 0.7. For verbal it can be that you could have been seeing it from a different perspective, so you land on a different uh answer. So
Getting the
after reviewing,
perspective right is important.
yeah,
You can't
so
be 10
that
different
happened
perspectives.
after a lot of questions that I practiced. I got into this GMAT uh, perspective, that how to look at the questions and what. Another thing, oh, I forgot. This is what really helped me. Um, there's this part in every video for inference, for assumption, for even for RCs, that we are taught the traits of incorrect and correct answers.
The
That was really helpful.
the buckets, out of scope, the
Yeah,
what
out
are
of
the
scope or half truth, distortion, all of that. So that really helped me. That again kind of became a gamified version, that I just need to notice these things and then I'll be able to differentiate what is the correct answer and what is not.
so
So
you were
that really helped
bucketing
me.
so you were bucketing the why you were eliminating a choice, you were putting it in the buckets that you were taught on GMAT portal that
Because you can't just eliminate the answers, you need to also understand why have you eliminated. And if you've chosen an answer, you need to know, you need to be sure and confident why have you chosen this answer. So I used to
otherwise you
look for
won't.
all the traits.
So if you're not eliminating it and putting it in a bucket, you would constantly feel maybe you haven't done justice to it.
Hmm.
Okay, that's great. That's a very amazing insight. I mean, hearing it from a student's perspective really helps me. It also makes me feel good because, those buckets were created with the motive that a student would be able to recognize. If you are making most mistakes by choosing, let's say, distorted answers, then you will know that, okay, I need to be more careful, when I'm reading my choices. I should be I should be able to see whether it is something that is already mentioned in the stimulus or not, right? Or
So this
just a
is what
distorted
happened.
version.
Like, this actually happened. Like, I, when I first watched I think the course starts with assumption first. So I
Inference, inference.
saw sorry, inference. So when I saw the inference videos, because I did not give much attention to the traits first. I kind of just ignored. I took my notes, but it just didn't seem like something important. I
Right.
just felt like, pata hai, no,
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
not something important. I tried to focus more on what inference is and the later parts of the video. But I was not getting questions right. So I thought that I might have missed something and I went back to the video, and that's when I noticed that this is important. I need to learn this, and that is how the change came. So at first, I was still making the same mistakes, but I went back and then I learned these traits, and that is how I started getting my answers
So
correct.
what you're saying is a constant personal review is important as well, that what you're doing, whether you're on the right path or not. And for you, you do believe, I mean, from whatever you've said, that the personal mentorship that you had going on with Jyoti helped a lot to keep you on the right path, right? Like what was the next step? If you were unsure, you would always connect with her on a weekly basis. And that helped you to understand what are the things that you would need to do. Great, that's great insight. And so this was about CR. What about RC? That is a fear factor for
RC,
everybody. People start by thinking this is reading comprehension, oh, a big deal. And then they see GMAT reading comprehension, and which is a totally different thing altogether.
for RC, I was struggling again. Some days I would be struggling more on RCs, some day I'll be struggling on CR, some days it will be both. But for RC, I realized after doing a ton of questions that I was struggling more with the humanities passage,
Okay.
the one with women rights and what happened 200 years ago. So that was not of interest to me for topics that were on business or even science. I I knew I wanted to read those paragraphs, so I was able to understand the paragraph better. That is what I realized. For humanities, it was just not my interest. Used to get bored,
Zone out.
zone out and bored, and it just felt like a. So that is what I had to change. I started reading different like abstract passages about humanities and tried to get as familiar as I could with humanities passage. It was still a struggle to me, but I luckily got only one RC on humanities. So
One is bad enough, huh? For somebody who's scared of it, right? Okay.
true.
No, but so for RC again, I guess you would have done the same thing, what we call involved and evolved reading, like, break sentences and read. And what you were saying earlier about CR, that connect the sentences. Every subsequent sentence, you have to connect with the previous sentence to make sure you understand all of it. You
And
followed.
after every paragraph, you need to take a moment and pause and connect the paragraphs and everything. There's a lot of connecting to do.
Yes, a lot of connecting to do. That's the good. So you just cannot read and just go to the questions and just answer it and be done with it. Right. So this
And
was
also, you need to understand what the question is really asking, because I remember I used to get confused between the questions like main point and also the functioning of paragraph. This
okay.
paragraph, what is the primary
What is the
function of this
function of the paragraph? Yes.
versus the main point. So I used to get confused between the two, and I used to treat the function question also like a main point.
Okay.
I really try to understand what the question is really demanding and then go ahead with answering them.
GMAT was the course helped you to differentiate between this because I know that.
There's videos on every topic like functioning also, then inference also in RC, functioning, main point, summary. So all of that really helped me to understand what the question is really asking.
Great, great job. Great job. So, so that was a lot of really good insights about from a student's perspective. As a tutor, I can give lots of lectures about do this, don't do this, do that, don't do that. But hearing from your mouth in real time, what are the things the challenges you faced and what you did to overcome that, really heartening. So, anything apart from this, prep on the academic part of it, anything else that you would like to, leave with our viewers?
Um, First of all, for I think like I mentioned that Jyoti was such a big help. So she was not only there as my mentor for my prep journey, she was also there like a friend. I remember we used to get on a meeting and I used to be so stressed, so tensed, and I used to just vent all of the emotions to her, and she used to be there like a friend helping me relax. And she advised me to meditate, and she's the one who kind of advised me that okay, you've studied, but only because you're tensed, you're getting answers wrong. You've learned the concept, but it is the tension and stress that is kind of making you mark the wrong answer. So she advised me a lot of things, meditation, and I that is what I also did. I started going on walks. I started spending more time with my parents.
Very
So
good, very good. That
actually
helps you calm down.
they tried to assure me that okay, everything's going to go well, and that was like a refresher for me. I've been studying for long hours, and I could spend some time where I'm not thinking about GMAT.
Yes,
So that's
this
what
is so
I love.
important for all. I have come across students who study straight on 9 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, only studying constantly, forgotten about everything else in life, food, family, fun, friends, all the F's are gone out, and the only F that is remaining is we know what it is, right? So and so you believe that getting that mentorship, that personal guidance was really important for you. And would you advise it for these students out there that if you need that personal advice, that specialized advice, they should seek an expert out, right? You would advise
Then
that.
important is such a small word. It is what actually got me through it. She was there at every step of the way. She guided me. She was constantly giving me personalized feedback, where to improve, how much time to devote to which topic. So she was just
there like a big sister.
And this came
So
with the
that
course itself, right? I mean, this was along with the GMAT course, the mentorship. Amazing, amazing. I mean, listening to you, I can make out that uh, there was a lot of things that you felt encouraged, you felt motivated, and you felt guided. I think that was
another thing I'll point out is the importance of time slot for me. So, like I said, I used to study at night. So, when I gave my first attempt, I was in a lot of hurry and I ended up whichever slot I saw first, and it turned out to be the morning one, which
okay.
would, when I was at my lowest, I would be very lethargic. So, on the day of the exam, I was struggling with brain fog and nerves. But this time, I took my time and I booked the last slot that there could have been, and that was when I was at my peak, so that also really helped me.
So knowing your more peak productive part of the day. So we are back to that self-awareness thing that you should know yourself well, and according to that, you should play to your strength. So you chose a slot, very important. So very important. All right. And what else? Anything else that you feel that leading up to the exam, a week before the exam, day before the exam, anything?
So in my previous attempt, I had given a mock just 2 days before my test, and I had gotten a very low score, near like 500. I don't remember the exact score. So I had already kind of accepted in my mind that this is what I'll be getting on my test day as well.
Uh, you're
So I
resigned to
was
your fate,
so
kind of
confident.
thing.
Yeah, I had already accepted in my mind that I am going to get a low score. But this time, since I had given two mocks and had reviewed them, I was much more confident going into the exam. And also, like I mentioned, that this time my quant and DI were not going well according to me. I took a optional break before verbal. And I remember my eyes were filled with tears because I was on the verge of crying that these two, my most strongest, had gone bad. So there are 10 minutes. So the first 2 minutes, I kind of acknowledged my feelings that these sections have gone bad. But the next 7 minutes, I took time to shift my perspective that okay, they have gone bad, but I still need to do verbal whatsoever. Let's just give it all, do whatever you can, try to increase a verbal score as much as you can. I drank water. I sat on the seats outside the test center exam hall, and I just used those 10 minutes very strategically. So when I entered the hall again, I was calm and I took one question at a time for verbal.
Great, great. You didn't think too much about what had already happened. That was already
I
like
just think
vanished out during those 10
it
minutes.
had already happened. Now, what can I do to save my score?
You're really inspiring, really inspiring. It's not easy for someone to move from that triple five, from the 500s to the 600s to this kind of score. So that's amazing, Urvi. Really amazing. And once again, congratulating you for your applications and wishing you all the best in whatever you do. For those watching, I'll just quickly share some data here so that if anybody wants to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with us. Those are the credentials there on the screen. So anyone interested in taking a look at the course, you can go and visit our website and then you can connect with us on those credentials. But once again, by the way, I didn't ask you, Urvi, what brought you to GMATWhiz?
So these are the interview that I'm currently giving. I have watched a lot of interviews like these, and like you said that my story is inspiring. I was inspired by other students, and I did my own research. That is one thing I would want to mention. There are many prep courses out there, and there are many prep courses that claim to be best. They might be, but please just don't go for the best one out there. You need to find out what's the right one for you. I did my homework, I did my research, and that is how I got to know about GMATWhiz. And when I enrolled myself, I was confident that this course is going to get me through it.
I think overarching everything that you've said. You're such a positive person, and I think that is one of the things, very important takeaways from this interview, that you need to constantly stay positive, self-motivated, and self-disciplined. Amazing. So thank you so much, Urvi, for gracing this occasion, coming here and talking to us and giving such great insights. I'm sure that whoever watches your interview will be inspired. Thank you so much for that. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.